So now we got our front clip replaced on our 78 square body crew cab, which you can see in a previous video if you'd like on our channel. It's time to address the bodywork. This is an old truck. It's had previous bodywork. It's very rusty. We're not going to do great bodywork, but we are going to do some bodywork. Let's take a look at it and see what we need to do. I got to pull this rear seat out. That's it. Ball bearing. Oh, fantastic. Somebody put some aftermarket seat belts in here. Actually, all of these are aftermarket. Interesting. Well, I believe we have to get the seat out to see what's going on there. I don't know if they're bolted to the seat or the bracket or what. We got bolts in the front here and these bolts in the back here. They probably adjusted the seat frame to shove it forward, but you know, for the gas tank, we'll take a look at that. This all has to come out. These wooden speaker boxes are weird. They're going to come out. I think I'm just going to cut out this whole section of metal here and replace it, just like up here. I'm going to cut out this section and reform a piece of metal for that. Normally I wouldn't do, you know, better bodywork like that, and it's still not going to be great because I'm gonna have to bond to it to get it perfect because I'm not a good metal worker. But in this case, I want it to be solid and I want it to last a while. I don't care about it being restored or factory. Nobody really cares about that in these trucks. So yeah, this is getting cut out, that's getting cut out. And I don't want the seat in there when I do that with sparks flying. I think I can clean this up. It's actually got metal under there. This, I may cut that out as well. Probably because it's so rusty. And there's a couple other sections that I may not. Down here I'll probably add a piece of metal. The front rockers are surprisingly good. That's a shocker. Up here, there's some Bondo. Somebody patched up before. I may cut that out as well. And I can kind of see the Bondo in there. Somebody really went nuts on that. What about the driver's side? I don't think it's going to be terrible because they're all in spots that aren't going to be terribly visible unless you're sitting there with the doors open. And that's fine. Down here, oh, that's good. Around the data plate. I'll just clean that up and POR 15 it probably. Up here we got some Bondo from previous restoration. No holes yet though. I think that'll all clean up, and you know, a couple gallons of POR 15 on this whole truck. I think we'll probably adjust the paint job they did. It's like I did this paint job, because you can see the paint under it is still holding on, but where they painted over it without proper prep, you know, like I would do, that's where it's failing. That's fine. The other 3+3 symbol has broken tabs on the back. This one is actually intact, but to take it off, I'll probably end up breaking it, as gentle as I will be. I don't think I'm going to put them back on because, again, not a full restoration, and I don't have a fix for the tabs on the other one, and to buy new or replacement, well, that's just decorative money that I don't have in my budget. So, I mean, that's something that could be put on in the future with a, you know, you just drill it and put them on, but those are probably coming off and staying off. The doors and door seals are shot. Well, door seals are relatively cheap. We'll probably get a new set of door seals because those are going to come off. You can see where they've been compressed over time and probably not sealing anymore. Over here after a rain, I noticed there was some water on the floor here. That's my plan for the cab, but for that I got to start stripping the interior out. So I guess the next step then is to start ripping this nice seat out of here. So I'll be gentle with it, or try to be. So I bolted the seat, moved it forward. It was like Christmas. This package here. There's a brand new GMC hubcap. You know, in case you lose one or damage one or something. So that's cool. My plan is to put the folding seat from the white truck into the rear of this truck, and then I'll have storage behind the seat since I'm not going to use this. Let's get this seat out of here. Seat is out. Well, the time has come to try to get some of the gas out of this behind the seat tank. So of course these aren't bottom drain tanks. Best tool for that is an electric pump. Well, I think I got almost all of the gas pumped out of this tank. Got the tank out behind the seat tank. We're just getting the last bit of the fuel out of there that I couldn't get before when it was level. Try to save every bit. So I mean, the back of this looks pretty good. Yeah, except for down here, which clearly we're going to have to put a patch in. That's fine. Probably what I'll do is just weld an angle in there, because I don't care what it looks like. I'm just going for structural integrity, and you know, maybe get it to hold up in the future just a little bit. Now this wasn't quite as bad as I thought. This metal around here is actually pretty good. I thought it was rusty all the way around. So mainly it's this section in here. I mean, that's sturdy enough to weld to there. There's no rust or anything, so that's gonna be fine. So it's mostly, we're probably gonna have to take this back up to here. I won't know till I strip some of that coating off. So let's try and see how far we need to go with this metal patch replacement. So we definitely have pinholes down here, but up here where it was bubbling, no pinholes. So I'm gonna reuse that. And in here, this is just rust. Got rusty under the paint a little bit. That's fine. That's metal under there. So let's judge here. We'll come down here, something like that. And to make it easy, we'll just go up here. And then we'll go down this corner. It'll make it easier to replace there, probably. And we'll come across up here. So that's the piece of metal we need, and then we can trim out the circle there. No, we don't want to trim out the circle. What am I talking about? Need to replace. We're not putting that fuel tank back in. We're not. Yeah, so that's all this, what we're going to replace there. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'll make a template to fit in there, and then cut a piece of metal. Is it Bondo seam sealer? I don't know. Let's get that rusty metal out of there. All right, quick before my camera goes dead again, I got that piece welded in, and I welded up the 2 holes from the decal down there. Not the decal, I welded up the 2 holes from the 3+3 logo down there. I'm gonna sand that smooth and Bondo it to get the right contours. So I put a smoothing coat of Bondo on here. Obviously I'm gonna sand her down and, you know, do about 50 more coats of Bondo to get it smooth. You know how that works. And then when I have it ready, I'm gonna throw on rattle can paint, because like we did with the front end, and if you watched that video, I explained that there, you know, it's a work truck, and plus if anything ever happens to this in the future, gets a scratch in it, you just and it's like brand new. So that's what we'll be using. There was a little bit of dip in here that I didn't quite realize, so that's why we got a little bit thicker in the middle, but that's fine. It's metal underneath, and that's the important thing, clean metal underneath. I also fixed this door. This, when we got it, you had to open it from the inside and, you know, give it a shove. The rod that goes from this button straight down to the pull mechanism, the catch that it slides into, that the rod slides into on the bar, was broken. It's kind of those one-way things. It has 2 tabs in the back that trap the bar when it slides through, and the tabs in the back were broken. I replaced that because I got a whole thing of those laying around. I also adjusted the door. I had to move, this door wasn't shutting fully, and you know, part of that could be, I don't know, from this huge amount of Bondo down here that somebody put in, or the fact that this is not an original door, or all of the above. I don't think it's an original door. It's got red paint that I don't think is primer, or it could be. Maybe it is, I don't know, but it's very red. It's more red than a primer, so I'm not really sure. Not 100% certain. And I took the handle off here, and it was red under the handle, which they don't paint around handles at the factory. So I think this door at the very least is off of another vehicle at some point. So anyway, it didn't shut right. I had to adjust the striker past the factory limits. I had to shove it in. I had to enlarge the hole a little bit to get it to close tightly. So now we've got a much better gap on here, and hopefully when I put new seals on, it won't leak. These doors, at some point I'm probably going to have to replace them. They're pretty bad, but I'm going to limp them along for now, as I tend to do with doors. I just don't like replacing doors, I guess. It's a pain. You got to gut them and everything, but you know, these over here, especially this rear one, is just, it's not doing so hot, so I don't know what I'm gonna do there to make it look halfway decent in the meantime. Might end up actually fixing it, but this door needs a whole new window glass. You can see the track is so rusty in there, so I don't know. You can't really roll the window down very far, or it jams because of the rusty slides. So for the meantime, my goal is to get the body looking halfway decent and structurally sound, and that does not include the doors, because doors are replaceable. So, you know, you can buy a Dynacorn door or whatever and bolt that on at any time. So I'm gonna keep working down around this corner. I gotta do something with this rocker here. I wanted to see how much Bondo they put on, so I kind of ground it back a little bit. I think I'm gonna end up probably removing a lot of this Bondo. There's metal here, and there's metal back here, and there's a big offset, so I don't know what happened. I need to pull some of this off. I don't know if this is a aftermarket rocker, or I don't know what happened there. You know, or maybe I'll just Bondo it up like they did and forget about it. I don't know. To me, it's not really very critical, because it's down here where, goodness, it's down here. This doesn't actually go into the cab. This is just below the rockers, so I don't know. I'll probably, you know, slap Bondo in there, since that's already a lost cause Bondo wise, and probably patch up around here, which won't require much. And then this corner will be done. And then we can move on to things like that as we go up the cab. Anyway, I won't bore you with step-by-step body work because no one really wants to see that. I will probably do a little bit and then, you know, show you what I did, and we'll move on just to speed this thing along because body work can get really boring really fast. Now it's time to address this section. I removed the trim up there and I'm going to dress the metal here and see how far we have to take this back. I'm hoping to take it back only just to the corner. That seems pretty solid. That way I don't have to bend around this corner. I don't know how far I'm gonna have to go this way yet. Hopefully not too far, but let's see how much metal we have to remove. Okay, overall not too bad. We only really have to take out this section here, and we can reset this hole for the trim. So I am going to cut out this section, and I'm going to try to burn this seam sealer out of here. I'll replace that, but I'm going to have to weld along that seam. I think that should be sufficient. I'm going to put rust converter in there as much as I can. It's actually surprisingly not rotted out, so I can see down to the shoulder belt plugs, and there's no threaded inserts in there. It's just a plug, so I won't be putting the shoulder belts in because it'd be too hard to weld something in there. So I'm going to rust convert this, and then I'll cut a template and cut a piece of metal out and see if I can replicate that. Alright, I have this piece roughed in. I curved it along the bottom to kind of match the seam. We are going to weld that obviously, but on the factory one you can kind of see a seam there, so I kind of want the seam to continue where it would have been at the factory. Of course we'll put seam sealer and give it the appropriate seam look, but there she is roughed in. Let's zip that into position and, I don't know, see what it looks like. Alright, so where are we at update? Well, I'm putting my coat of Bondo down there on the bottom, and I have the fuel cap section with the Bondo skim coat, and just got to do some finishing up there. Up here in my patch I got it skim coated and just got to do some finishing up to get it kind of nice and smooth. We're going to continue that along the seam on the back and clean that up. So I'm done with the exterior body work, as much as I'm going to do on this thing. We got things like our holes patched up from the 3+3 logos, and we got, you know, the rust holes fixed and, you know, kind of repaired, and I didn't worry too much about what it looks like on the door jambs because it already looked like junk, and well, it still doesn't look great, but at least it's solid now. Well, I mean, I know it's solid. And we got our rear fuel tank hole filled and that up there, and you know, there's a little bit of rust around there that we patched, and rockers and so on and so forth. Mostly I just took the old Bondo can and seam sealer and went. So yeah, there we go. Let's move to the inside now. So I've stripped everything that I'm going to remove off of the dashboard, and I think this thing, it has so much surface rust and scuffing, and there's holes and things. I think what I'm going to do is probably give this a quick coat of paint. Another thing I noticed with the glove compartment is the hinge on this piece is completely blown out, so that won't make me feel bad about swapping this plastic piece for the other glove compartment that's cut out for the AC. So I can just put that piece on here, and then it'll stick this. Oh goodness, it's about peeled off. Maybe I'll take that off and put it in a folder, and that'll protect it, keep it from fading anymore as well. As you can see, the text starts to fade a good bit. I'm going to clean back here real good before I mask and paint. I removed all of the excess radio wiring, and the factory wiring harness actually hasn't been spliced into very terribly, so that's good. And more importantly, the radio cutout is factory. Try and find that in a 1978 truck. I've got to get the AC in. I've got to clean this up and get the AC in because I don't want to leave it open. I want to get the AC in and buttoned up and vacuum down so there's not air in the system. So probably I'm going to clean this and stuff the AC in, and then worry about, I can cover things as I paint them later. And I don't have to paint up here because this is covered by the dash. This is the only section you see. That's fine. I'm going to be moving the complete dash pad over from the 86 truck, so it'll look like an 86 dash as well, because I do have the complete surround down under the steering column, which I didn't have in this truck. It doesn't have, it's missing some pieces, so we'll have complete dash then. And then I can work my way down. There's some rust in the floor here. I can work my way down and strip all this out and then do the inside of the cab. It just started raining and I was standing out here, and I noticed there is a drip of water right there. So this does have the dreaded windshield leak somewhere along there, but it doesn't appear to be just too rusty, so it's maybe the seal. Ouch. Maybe the seal being blown out, or maybe this, oh no, it is a little rusty there. Somebody bondoed it. Oh, that's fantastic. Why would you do that? Well, oh, that's spongy. Well, we're going to address that somehow. I don't know how yet, but we'll address it. Probably with Bondo. I mean, like I said, it doesn't appear to be rusty on the inside. It's just spongy on that top panel. So, you know, maybe if I cram enough Bondo down in there, if I get, if I'm feeling industrious, I'll paint the ceiling as well. But I'm not feeling industrious at the moment. So I took the front seat out. What's this? Don't know. There's a lot of junk under here. Frank's Oldsmobile. Huh. Oh, that's a day's end receipt. Well, anyway, so I found this speaker thing under the front seat, a whole bunch of other things. I don't know if that works or what the deal is. I also found out they put in an extra set of seat belts. There was still the factory middle seat belt, but then they added this seat belt, so I don't know what the deal is there. It's aftermarket, and I just bolted it through the floor. Well, we're taking that out. I already took out one set of floor mats, and we got, you know, just floor mats on top of floor mats on top of floor mats. I already took out the carpet they put in the back over the factory rubber. You know, I shudder. They kept stacking up floor mats. I shudder to think what I'm going to find under there, but I'm going to take my bin of stuff out of here so it doesn't get damaged. And then I'm going to strip the floor. Got to rip these seat belts out first. And I think I have to unbolt the shifter surround here, unscrew that, because they screwed that down over the add-on carpet that they put in. Yeah, so I'm gonna gut the inside here of my parts and then, yeah, get some of this junk out. So this is what's known as a high hump truck. The transmission hump is higher than in some trucks. Like that truck over there just has a normal hump where this isn't kicked up this much. And this is something that GM really did right, because, you know, you can practically rebuild your transmission without removing it from the truck on these top loaders, because you can take this cover off and you can pretty much get to the whole transmission. This floor, goodness. It's not rusted through though, but well, here it is. I'll probably put a reinforcement plate in there. Over on the driver's side, it looks like somebody riveted a reinforcement plate to the thing there, which is also rusting out. I'm going to peek underneath and see how much of the actual floor is rusted out. I might just reinforce their reinforced plate after I clean it. Because again, not perfect bodywork, but I'm going to make sure that this is kind of rust proofed and kind of taken care of when I'm done here before I put anything back in. It doesn't look like they did anything. It looks like they just put in raw steel and didn't even worry about primering it or painting it or anything, and you get moisture in there and instant rust. So bad idea. So actually we're not too bad. There's a little bit of rust at the bottom of that, bottom of one of these pillars. That in this one, I don't know, but I think I can just clean it up and seam seal it, rust proof it, all that jazz. Had some reinforcing plates in some of the corners and along the back of the cab. And yeah, but let's get this cleaned up and see a little bit more what we have to work with here. Well, now we can see just a little bit better what we're working with. This is gonna have to be patched. There's an old patch here that, I don't know, I mean, it's still kind of there. Clearly they patched here and patched the rockers like I thought. But I don't know, that's pretty solid, except for this here where they kind of doubled up the metal. That's fine. I'll probably just leave it. Along here is pretty good. And back here on the rear rocker, again, pretty good. Just a little bit of, I mean, there's actual metal in there, but you know, probably just Bondo that for the time being. Let's go to the other side. So back here, a little bit rusty, but again, I can patch and rust proof and seam seal that. This wire for the dome light's gonna have to be redone because it's a little bit crunchy there. That's the wire for the seat belt there, third one. This plate, I'm gonna have to pull this plate up because they really doubled it up heavy, and when you do that, and I didn't prep or anything underneath it, and when you do that, condensation and moisture just gets between both plates and rots them both out from the inside. So and as you can see, it's happening here. There's even dirt daubers down under there. So I'm gonna have to pull that plate up and see what lies beneath, which I don't really want to, but I'm sure I'm gonna end up repatching a lot of that. That's fine. Again, here's where I guess they joined the rockers or didn't join them, which is actually solid. It's just the seam is rusting back. That's fine. I can patch that. And of course the back, which has a few holes in it. Overall, not too bad. Not quite as bad as I expected, but I won't know more till I get this plate up. But actually not terrible. Under the seats and everything is great, and under there is fantastic. There's the top of the body mount, but center body mount bolts, and they're in good shape. They're not all rusted out, which I kind of confirmed when I replaced the body mounts, and you know, the nuts actually came off. Seat belt bolts all came out. They're in good shape and not rusty. And of course the transmission hump is in good shape and not rusty. So yeah, cab floor and dash and roof and interior, not really too bad. I mean, as far as not bad for a northern truck, which I think this is a northern truck. For a southern truck, it's pretty bad, but nothing that can't be repaired. This is an older repair job, and they didn't do a factory restoration or anything, as you can see from the rivets and all the strange riveted in plates and floor patches that, you know, they should have coated them, at the very least coated them with something rather than just putting in raw steel. And I mean, I don't see any paint or anything on this. This is like raw steel right up to the edges, and it just started rusting from the moment they put it in. Not a good idea on floor pans at all. So let's finish ripping that out and rust proof some of this stuff and cut out the rest and do all the boring stuff that no one wants to see, you know, cut, patch, weld, you know, screw, join, all that stuff. So let's do a bunch of that stuff and then we'll give you an update. So on the front floor here, I wire brushed it real good, and then I put a rust converter coat on it, and then I put this yellow paint on that I had laying around because it's not going to be visible and I don't care what color it is. I don't think I'm going to cut this out. I think I'm going to kind of do what they did, but not, you know, over the whole floor, because that's just ridiculous. I'm going to reinforce this section with a plate that I'm going to, you know, sand and paint both sides of the plate first before I put it down, unlike what they did, which just encourages more rust. If you're going to put something down like that with an air gap in between of any kind, you want to coat both sides so that you don't get rust and stuff in there, because it's just going to rust it out again if you do that. And I am going to continue patching the rocker here. I'm going to clean this up and go up along here and kind of do some patching back here and finish that up. And then I think this side will be almost complete. I believe I've decided, I think what I'm going to do for the floor is buy new rubber mats and maybe some Dynamat after I clean and coat this. Maybe Dynamat it, and for kind of, you know, because these turn into an echo chamber when you're driving, when they're all steel like that. If you've ever driven one, you know what I'm talking about. And that's probably why one of the previous owners put carpet over his rubber floors to try to, you know, absorb some of that sound. But I really want the vinyl floors because, again, this is going to be a work truck, and I really prefer the vinyl floors. I have a vinyl floor in this, and, you know, I've been running it for 2 years. I've had vinyl floors in trucks before, but they're a lot easier to clean when you're, you know, just wearing the crap out of them every day. So we are pushing along with the cab here. There's a few holes I have to patch that they drilled for these extra seat belts, which I still don't understand. I'm not going to leave those holes. And there's a couple screw holes like here that I need to just patch and fill. And where they ran the rivets down through, I'm going to patch those. Do some patching here where their replacement plate rusted out. And by patching, I mean fill it with Bondo, because again, this truck, I mean, this all ought to be ripped out, because they just like riveted these rockers over top of, you know, the stuff that was there, and there's probably more rust down underneath, but you know, for the moment it's solid. And again, you can see all the rust over there. We're going to do the same thing over on that side, you know, wire brush it and rust convert it and paint it and run through that process. And we're going to run seam sealer when we're all done over our plates and everything, which they didn't do, because if you get any water in here, you don't want it running down under the plates or anything, and vice versa, you don't want it coming up. So any seams and places like here where we peeled the seam sealer back just because it came off with age, we're going to seam seal it. You know, it's basically going to look like this factory seam sealer. It's just the brush on. Any joints that are exposed, we're going to seam seal that to keep water from getting down in the metal joints. Progress update. So we got this wire brushed and rust converted and painted. It's actually really solid. Just had this area over here I had to patch, and this turned out really good. Just threw some seam sealer on there to fix any pinholes or anything. The dome light, the wires were pulled back too far by the last person. There's actually no light bulb or anything. They just took the new fixture and stuck it in there. I gotta find the bulb and the bulb socket to put in there. I don't know what the proper one is off the top of my head, but I had to refish the wires because they'd pulled the wires back, and I tried to reach over there and grab them. They come up the driver's pillar over there and then across to the dome light, and I just, for the life of me, I could not grab them. So I cannot describe to you the painfulness of fishing those wires. I tried to fish them up the driver's pillar like the factory does, and it was just I mean, I literally struggled with this for like 5 hours. And the problem is the joint where the roof meets the pillar, there's a lot of metal in there, and when you fish up from the bottom you hit the metal, and you fish down from the top and you hit the metal, and there's not a lot of space. It's very, very restricted. You can barely even get the fish through, and as soon as you try to fasten the wire to the fish, it's too big and it won't go through. So I'm assuming from the factory they put the wire in and then put this roof section on. Anyway, the final solution was to go up the back corner where there's a little bit more room in the pillar in that corner, because the pillar joint is much bigger in that area, so there's a bigger air gap. The only problem is you can't fish at an angle straight over to the light, because there's supports. You can see the screws here, but there's supports that go across there, and there's not a lot of air gap. There's a little bit of air gap in here where this comes down, just a little bit. And basically what I ended up doing was having to fish up, go across the back, and then turn 90 degrees and come down the center to the light. And it is almost impossible to get your fish to meet those parameters when you're working down there at the corner. And it was just the most painful exercise. I think one of the most painful exercises I have ever done in fishing wires. No, it's probably the most painful fish exercise I've ever done. I mean, I tried everything, and I finally got lucky, and by some miracle I managed to make it meet those parameters. So we have new wires, and I just have to figure out the light, and then instead of the wires going up the B pillar, they're going up the C pillar, so they're just going to come back under that seat along the rockers there. Instead of just going across the driver rocker, they're going on the back. As far as the dome light goes, these switches are shot. I ordered new ones. They're not that expensive. They just unscrew here. I did get them loose on both sides, so I can just pull those out, replace the wire, and put the new one in. The rear doors do not have switches in this truck. I don't know if that's a thing in all crew cabs or just 1978, but in the Suburbans they're up here, and there's nothing. There's no door switches. So I guess when you open the back, it's, you know, they don't care about the back seat passengers. So the floor is coming along. We're just going to continue patching, and then when I'm finally done with this, I'm going to clean it, and maybe I'll make the thing one color. And have to research whether I want to put down Dynamat or not. I'm not sure if that's going to change the rubber floor contours too much if I get real thin Dynamat. I really don't want this thing to vibrate like a tin can. So this is where we're at with the interior, and this I think is going to be as far as I'm going to take it before we put the floor down. I did prep and sand the shift jammer inner gear there, and so, you know, looks a little better. I did throw a very, very, very quick rattle can paint job on the ceiling. You know, new headliner install. This is gonna do it till we put the floor in, and I'm still waiting on that, so we can't put that in yet. I had a lot of debate with myself where to cut this video short, and I figured if I completed rebuilding the interior and everything as part of the bodywork, then it would be way too long. So we're going to do that hopefully on the next video, and hopefully by then I will have all my new parts that are going inside this thing. So as always, appreciate you watching. Any like, subscribe you can give us, always appreciated. We just actually hit 600 subscribers on the channel, which may not sound like a lot to you, but to me it's an awful lot, because I've been doing this for a while now, and well, that's kind of a motivational boost to me that people might actually want to see what I'm doing. So thanks for that, and as always, thanks for watching.